we mute ourselves because it's that survival strategy. Because you don't want to be known as, oh, she flies off the handle. But I don't also want to be known as, oh, she's so nice. Nice is one of those adjectives that just grinds me to my core.
And I think that it's been
Big difference
weaponized.
between nice and kind. Big difference. One that I'm guilty of, rewriting emails before I send them. 825 ways to Sunday so I don't piss anyone off. Welcome back to Unapologetic Rabble-Rousers. I am Doc Shelley.
And I'm Carla Lewis. We're on to another adventure. Okay, so we've danced not around this topic, but with this topic. Now we're going to get right into the middle of the whole dance. This is truth telling. This is about untaming. This is about really exploring the quiet ways that we mute ourselves, that self-silencing habit.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the beginning of a series. I don't know. What do you think? It's going to be a few episodes.
4, 5, 6.
Yeah. Yes. Because
Depends on how unapologetically rabble-rouser-esque we get.
Oh, well, there's no reason to stop now. So the thing is that we're looking at this because there's these quiet ways we mute ourselves, but why? They're to stay liked, to stay safe, to stay employable.
Keep your job.
So let's dig into this. Let's talk about truth telling and untaming.
Yeah, I think to start the conversation, we have to think about that early conditioning and where it comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we've talked a little bit about it before, but we're often taught like being good means being agreeable, means being helpful, means being not too much. Or take it down a notch.
Seen and not heard.
Yes,
even
exactly.
that.
Exactly. But I think about all the phrases like don't rock the boat. You can't fight City Hall.
Mm-hmm.
You better be nice.
Yeah.
Nice is one of those adjectives that just grinds me to my core.
And I think that it's been
big
weaponized.
Difference between nice and kind.
Yeah.
Big difference.
We could do a whole episode on that.
We could. Don't make anyone uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And so we hear those things growing up, more so as women or people in the BIPOC community, not so much the average white male probably hasn't heard a lot of those things.
Well, that's true.
But we hear these things and they become internalized survival strategies. So we don't want the spotlight to be on us for the wrong reasons. So you got to be nice. Don't rock the boat.
And
don't raise your voice. Don't show emotions.
I want to dig into that. You said so that we don't, you said something about the wrong reasons, that we don't want to be visible, heard for the wrong reasons. Mm-hmm. And that ends up being an interesting judgment thing that says, okay, first off, who is the one that's saying it's a wrong reason? And second off, why is it that I can so easily fall into that? I'm going to call it a trap. I said, wait a minute. Okay, this is what I want to say. This is why. These are the words that are coming up. And this is all of this other crap that I'm bringing along with it that is beginning to put some kind of a gag on me because either it's going to come out the wrong way for somebody else, mm-hmm. or it's going to make a statement that comes across as being for the wrong reason. So where does that wrong reason thing come from?
Well, I'm thinking you don't want to be the crazy lady. You don't want to receive those negative labels, if you will. So we mute ourselves because it's that survival strategy. Because you don't want to be known as, oh, she flies off the handle. But I don't also want to be known as, oh, she's so nice. I've shared this before. Throughout my entire career, I've been told I'm difficult because I ask questions.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Then I was told I was difficult because when somebody asks me questions, I answer them. It's
Oh
like I
yeah.
can't win. So apparently I'm just difficult. If that's what difficult means, I'm asking questions to gain clarity to set me and my team up for success, then I'm difficult.
That's it. And own it.
But for a long time, that is not a label that I wanted to have.
Hmm.
So I don't want that spotlight. Oh, here comes Shelly. She's difficult. That's not what I want to lead into the room with me.
Hmm.
So I spent a lot of time editing myself, not asking questions, and then trying to figure shit out, which you still don't win that way. So
No.
then I was like, screw it. I'm going to be difficult. I'm going to ask questions. But the people to whom I have explained why I ask questions, they are now much more amenable to my asking questions.
It's because at first it's
Who
coming
knew you
across
had
as
to explain why
uh,
you were asking questions?
it depends on who you are and who you're asking the question of, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
And oh my goodness, this just stirs a really interesting pot.
it does. And you think about our nervous systems are wired to prioritize belonging more so than authenticity.
That's akin to safety.
Exactly. Ladder of needs, safety is right there. So if I can belong, if I can fit in, and this is where I go the difference of fit in and belong, right?
Hmm.
Fitting in is I have to change how I show up so that you heifers will accept me versus just accept me for who I am. So if I have to modify myself so that I can belong, fit in, that feels better to my nervous system than showing up authentically and having to deal with the outfall of it.
And that authenticity being squelched becomes it's painful. It doesn't become painful. It is painful. And we just let it be. We excuse it to say, but that's how it has to be. I mean, it just has to
Yeah.
be that way.
Yeah. So we've been taught this. We've learned how to do this over the years from childhood.
Hmm.
So it's not our fault, but we can take the responsibility to unlearn all of those things. Our brain is not going to like it. Our nervous system isn't going to like it. So it's hard to unlearn playing it safe,
Which
being
is
quiet,
the whole notion of untaming.
self
No,
silencing our habits. Yes, exactly.
so,
Unleash the beast.
oh yeah, oh yes,
So really,
okay.
it's like a reflex. For a lot of people, it's a reflex. It's not really a choice.
And I think that's
Yep.
part of the key in at least acknowledging that this is going on is becoming aware of when it's happening.
Right.
Now, we're shining a little light on this whole notion. We all know it exists. We all know that we've been party to it. We probably have all, at one point or another, questioned that somebody was saying or yeah, saying what it was they were saying and thinking, oh, that's not going to go well. And part of that might be because we are wired also to protect, as we are also being safe and belonging and all of that. But it starts with becoming aware of how this is actually showing up
Yeah.
and being able for us to first consider, okay, all right, let's take a look. Let's take a look at this. And in a given day, in a given conversation, we're
Mm-hmm.
going back to Argyros in the left hand, right hand column, and we're thinking, okay, here's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking. Here's how the message is finally making its way out. And how different is it?
Right.
And
Right.
is it different because it feels safer for me to come out with it the way I did when what really matters to me is being able to say what it was that I had in there in the first place. So we do this, it's like this massive editing that goes on, and we have to become aware of it before we can unleash it.
And if you think about the ways it shows up, so you're starting to talk about that. It's not always big. It's not always the big things, right?
Mm.
It can be Little things. I see it in emails where people will put 18 smiley faces when I needed no smiley faces. Or what I see from a lot of women, just checking in to see if you've done this. I'm just following up. No, you're not just following up, you're following up. It's like just these little things that show up every day. One that I'm guilty of, rewriting emails before I send them. 825 ways to Sunday so I don't piss anyone off. This is time I shouldn't have to spend rewriting emails when I all I want to do is ask a question. So it can show up in like those small daily habits, avoiding conversations, delaying feedback. My favorite, I'm sorry, I have a question. If you're sorry you had a question, then don't ask your question. Don't be sorry about it. Ask your question.
So this also,
Apologizing before you state a boundary or an opinion. I'm sorry, I don't see it that way. I see it a little bit differently. Like it those are habits of protection.
mhm.
And we need to move away from that and recognize that while boldness may risk rejection, it's also, can you show up authentically?
And the price and the cost of both sides of both sides of that equation. Showing up authentically and being prepared to pay the price for those who are perhaps unaccustomed to that kind of forthrightness and boldness, especially if it's coming from someone who hasn't been that way before. We've talked about this, expecting people around you to just be able to absorb whatever kind of change you're going to go through or you're going through without recognizing that it's putting them through a change as well. Not that it's bad for them, but it stirs up that same kind of safety issue for them as well. So there's this cost about not being authentic, and then there's the price you pay when you are, when others are not prepared to receive because they haven't been taught that they had to even be worried about having to deal with something that was forthright and authentic. So big word salad, but the at the core of it is that when we become aware of the fact we are making these, we are excusing some of that boldness. We're trying to make it smaller than it really is so that it'll be easier, more palatable, can be received by others. We try to do that gentleness, and I'm guilty of it. I am so guilty of it. That whole, even just the notion of we have strengths. You and I both have strengths that are really positive, and being able to just stand and say, yes, I have this. I recognize I have this. And instead being able to say, yeah, I can do a little bit of that. The soft pedaling of who you are, what you bring. You are a great model for being able to come forward with authenticity and with humility. Be able to say, I got this, boo. I, I got this. I'm not unhappy about it. I'm not lording this over anyone. I've got this.
Yeah. There's something to be said for knowing your strengths and being able to stand in the confidence of that
Mm-hmm.
without the ego. Still bring some humility to that. I had a leader one time, not that long ago, but we were talking about something and I sat in silence in the room and we walked out of the room and he was like, "Don't you ever do that again." And I was like, "Oh my God, what did I do?" And he was like, "You were the smartest person in that room. You were the only one that knew the right answers and you said nothing." And I said, "I'm also the least senior person in the room. And I've been told by several of those people to keep my mouth shut. So I did." And he was like, "Don't ever do that." He's like, "The pushback that you get when you speak up is because you're ruffling other people's feathers. That is their problem, not yours." He's like, "Don't, if I'm ever in the room with you and you do that again," he's like, "I'm going to put you on the spot and I will call you out." And I was like, "Thanks for the warning." And the very next meeting, he was like, "Excuse me, I think Michelle has something to say." And I was like, "Jackass." But I appreciated him being a
Mm-hmm.
huge advocate for me
Mm-hmm.
and knowing what my voice could bring to that table. Because several of those people were the ones that had called me difficult.
Mhm.
They were the ones that were threatened by me, even though I'm not in there to take anyone's job. I don't want your position. I'm just trying to impart knowledge and my experience and what we could do to make the situation better. Again, if that's difficult for you, so be it. But he was a really big advocate for me for like just owning it. And like, he's like, you don't do it in a way that's cocky. You don't do it in a way that's ego driven, like they're doing. So he was like, own it, man. So
You know,
he
what a
was a big help to that. But my point in all saying all of that is your nervous system will remember. I will remember for the rest of my life, as will my nervous system, that I've been labeled difficult by a lot of people. And there's a dissonance for me because I don't believe I'm difficult. I'm not doing it to be difficult. I'm sorry that my questions come across as difficult, but my questions come across because you're not able to answer them because you haven't thought through what the hell you're talking about. It's not my
Mhm.
problem. But our nervous system remembers those labels. We've been punished, we've been hurt, we've been rejected,
Yeah.
we've been invalidated, we've had pressure to assimilate. I could go on and on and on. But your nervous system remembers that. The body keeps score. And so even though I have moved away from, I don't own that label of being difficult. If you want to think I'm difficult, that's on you. That's not my problem. I'll own it in a way that is not my problem because I don't think I'm doing anything that is labeling me as difficult, but I feel it in my body every single time that I'm going to speak up in a meeting. My body's like, "Oh, get ready. You're going to get called difficult again." And my brain is, "You sure you want to do that?"
And that's a really important debate inside that
Mhm.
those moments when you're faced with that. I'm picturing you in that setting and being the least senior person at the table, but with the greatest amount of insight and
Mhm.
knowledge about the topic, facing off with people who can control or have control or influence, if nothing else,
Yep.
over your future,
Exactly.
and having already shot across your bow a couple of times
Yep.
saying, warning, warning, get no closer. And then this person coming and saying, yeah, what a fascinating place to be in. And if you don't already have that confidence that, yeah, I know my stuff, what a dilemma.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think one of the biggest lessons through all of that that I think carries with me is my silence is protecting my peace in the moment, but it's also sabotaging my self respect in the long run. Because if I'm going to
Wow.
believe I'm difficult, I'm going to continue to quiet myself. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to sit in meetings and I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. I'm not going to ask questions. I'm not going to get the information I need in order to be successful. If I'm not successful, whatever, however I define that, there goes my self respect. There goes some of my integrity. It's a big dilemma.
And I'm thinking along with that comes the, perhaps a growing sense of resentment for the fact
Sure.
that the conditions are such that you're making those choices. That a person is making those choices for themselves in that setting and feeling like, I'm doing this because this is what you have taught me. You have shown me that this is how I'm supposed to be when I'm with you.
Yep.
And I resent not being able to be the me that I believe I've been put on this earth to be. So there's this storm that's going on inside,
Mm-hmm.
and how much that contributes to this whole erosion of, even, well, you talked about it, your self-esteem, your own trust of yourself. It's like, okay, I can't speak up on a subject or in a setting where I know my voice is the voice that needs to be heard. Well, what the hell?
Right.
So now who am, okay, now I don't know who I am. I don't know how to be anymore, because it's certainly not me being me the way it's happening right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if we liken this kind of back to the cost of staying quiet that you were talking about, it, it can lead to resentment because other people get away with asking questions,
Mhm.
saying things that we think we can't say, doing things we think we shouldn't do. We start to disappear from the rooms that we should be shaping, but we're not even showing up anymore. When you don't speak up, your confidence is taking a hit. So it can lead to overwhelm because we're just going to keep everything inside and eventually that's going to take over everything. So there's a huge cost of staying quiet.
And I really appreciate the thought you shared. Well, all of them, of course. In particular, the one about trading temporary peace, trading, you were salvaging temporary peace by choosing to not step out from that place of confidence and knowing. So, what is it that we can do? What is it? How is it that as an individual who is feeling this in their bones right now, the this they've seen themselves in this situation, they're anticipating one more tomorrow. The what is it that one can do to grapple with this beast and come out on top?
I think lean into those times where you did use your voice because we've all had the experience where we did successfully use our voice. We said the things, we did the things, we owned the room. Lean into those things. And I think also recognize it doesn't have to be one big, huge, bold announcement, right? It can be a small thing. I will call it a micro bravery. You can just say, I disagree. Don't apologize for it. Don't sugarcoat it. When you're sending that next email, write the damn email and send it. Don't put 800 emojis in there that don't need to be there. Don't use the smiley emoji to be like, huh, like you're saying something serious. You're like the newscaster that delivers a devastating message with a big smile on their face. That's what I think of when I see some of those emojis in emails that people
Mm-hmm.
use. And just perhaps if you disagree with something, instead of nodding along when something feels off, just don't do that. Oftentimes people sit there and they're like, yeah, 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 yeah. And then they walk out of the room and they're like, what the hell was that?
Mm-hmm.
So don't give the verbal nod if you don't agree. You don't have to disagree, but just practicing those little micro things that maybe even only you recognize can start to build the muscle that will allow you to start showing up, using your voice, being more authentic, being more you. What would you add to that?
It's about learning how to let go of the things that are holding you back. The what being aware of them. First, again, if you're bound by something, if your hands are tied, your lips are stapled, whatever it might be, first becoming aware of what it is that's going on that that is making that happen. What am I feeling right now? What's happening? Who is it with? What's at stake? And what is it that makes me not comfortable taking the making the next statement or taking that next step, which could include doing nothing, including the nod you talked about. Do not be
Mm-hmm.
a bobblehead just because that's
Mm-hmm.
what they're expecting. If you don't agree, do not convey that you do.
Exactly.
And so I know, to your point, it really is taking those small steps. It starts with awareness and then giving yourself permission to say, okay, I am aware now and I can make one small step. I can take one small step, do one small, you called it a micro bravery, take one small micro bravery action. And if nobody else knows it, that's fine. I know it.
Exactly.
And that's what I need to do and to compound that to get to a point where now actually it's going to be okay if others notice because
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting untamed.
With that, I'm Doc Shelley.
And I'm Carla Lewis. Thanks for joining us. Please be sure to share the love you might have. Give us some feedback. Let us know how we're doing and hitting the targets that, as we said when we first began, giving voice to the things that need a voice. And if there's something more that needs a voice, please be sure to tell us about that too. Till next time.
See ya.
It really is taking those small steps. It starts with awareness and then giving yourself permission to say, okay, I am aware now, and I can take one small micro bravery action. And if nobody else knows it, that's fine. I know it.